welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you 4 ways in which I used rhinestones on my Sally ball gown. This video is not sponsored by Rhinestone Genie, however, you can use my code below to get a 10% off discount on your purchase at Rhinestone Genie, and this is really just supposed to be a combination of all the ways I used rhinestones on Sally. Let's start with the swirl design that I placed on the sleeves and Bertha of the bodice. When I started working on Sally, I wasn't 100% sure how or where I was going to use rhinestones, so I started obviously by browsing Rhinestone Genie's website and picking out some stencils that would work for this costume. Then I also picked out rhinestones that I thought would match my fabric choices, and that's how we got to the design on the sleeves. I will put a timestamp on this screen where I use this stencil with the tray, but for the purpose of exploring how I wanted this to look, I don't use the tray or the sheets of transfer paper just yet. This is just me playing around. And I basically, if you saw, I poured out some stones, and then I'm using my tool here to kind of push them around into the specific swirls I want. So we're not using all of the swirls. We are just using the specific swirls that I thought would look good on this design. Once I was happy with where the rhinestones were placed, I move some of these stones over onto the magnet, and then I'm going to actually try to carefully lift the magnet up so that I can actually physically see, okay, this is where these are. Are there any empty spaces that I need to fill? And then from there, I make my decision if I'm going to actually press them in place. All right, so now I guess we should press them in place because I think this looks great. And I'm using my Aliso Mini, and I'm trying to stay away from these little dots here. When you use the actual paper, I'll show you in the next one, the transfer paper, you won't have to worry about that. But I was kind of playing, and this was mostly a test. You probably shouldn't test on your actual fabric, but I did. Oh well. And then I'm just going to press and hold, and I do that for 15 seconds per spiral. And then I literally lift it up, and I will touch the rhinestones once they cool a little to make sure that they aren't moving. And when I've figured out that they haven't moved, I move on to the next one. All right, now that they are all done, look how sparkly they are. All right, at this point though, I do decide I want one more on each side just to kind of fill it in. And to figure this out, I literally place the stencil back down, and I'm going to kind of like look at how the angle of all the other ones are going, and if there's a new kind I'd like to do, or if I'd like to go in the same direction. I tried to kind of mix up the direction they were going in, so I place my stencil down and I bring back my little swipey tool, and there we go. And then again, I'm gonna once this is done, I will lift the magnet up. I will actually take a moment to look at how it looks with that on there to make sure this is what I want before I adhere them. That's the one benefit of doing it this way over adding transfer tape, is that you know for a fact, like, okay, I like the placement of all of these, but I don't like the placement of this one. Let's just sweep it away. And you're not committed to having it like on transfer tape, but that's just how I decided I wanted to do this. I also repeated these swirls on the Bertha. I didn't take video of that because it's the exact same process you see here. I kind of lined 3 of the swirls up on each Bertha piece and placed them. I chose black stones for that one. And then I decided, oh, I didn't like this. So I ended up individually placing all 3 of them so they were a little bit more spread out. But yeah, I really like this stencil. This is probably like a really versatile stencil for me personally. So now I guess let's talk for a little bit about doing the hem of the skirt. Now we get to talk about the hem of the skirt, where I stuck about 1,100 rhinestones in an hour and a half. That's a new record for me. The last time I stuck 1,000 or more rhinestones was on Elsa when I did the long strips of rhinestones, and I think it took me 8 or 9 hours to do that. So this was pretty great. All right, now we're actually using this tray and the magnet piece with it. I knew for a fact when I saw this swirl, I was like, this is going on Sally's hem. I think it's really pretty. I wanted to use it, and I'm using the Jet Black Hot Fix rhinestones. These are 3mm rhinestones, and I just poured, I think, like half the bag or something into this tray, and I'm just moving them around, and I'll actually continue to move them around until all of them face up. All right, so here we are. They all face up. Now we are going to just kind of move these other ones a little bit out of the side, and then we're going to take our transfer paper, take the white part of it off, and now we just have the little tacky side to it, and we are going to place it like right on top of this. I did pre-cut a couple of these sheets so that it will fit my stencil size, and I will be honest, I reused the same 3 sheets. So I am going to take the sticky side of this and just put it right on top of my design, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure to all of the stones just to make sure that it grabs them. And then what I'll do is I will actually start to lift this up. I don't believe I did it in this video because I didn't realize it was an option, but I did eventually realize that I can actually lift the tape up, and if I put my finger down on the magnet will stay on the tray, the tape will come up with all the rhinestones, and no rhinestone will be left behind. So now I'm going to move on over to the hem of my skirt, and I know this is black on black, so it might be a little tricky to see, but basically I pinned where I knew I wanted this. I actually pinned where I wanted all of them, and I kept in mind the actual shape of the plastic, but then I just take my little mini iron and I'm going to press and I hold for 15 seconds in each place. So I will just do this throughout the entire design. And then once I've pressed and held, I will actually lift up the tape to kind of see and make sure all my stones have been properly adhered to my fabric. I should also mention that I have this on the highest setting and that I'm working on cotton sateen. So my fabric can handle this amount of heat. If you're working with a polyester, you will have to hold your iron on for a longer time period because you'll have to have it at a lower heat, because if you've never worked with polyester before, it will actually burn and destroy your fabric. And look at the sparkle on that. It's so pretty. I really love these jet black stones. The next part of this video is going to be about randomly placing stones on the dress, but without actually using a hot fix tool. In the last segment of this video, I will use a hot fix tool, but for this segment, I'm actually going to be using a product called Gem Tack. I talk a lot in my previous videos or the times I've used rhinestones in costumes about using Gem Tack with hot fix stones and how I've never done it before. Well, now you guys are going to watch me do it. So I'm going to dump a little bit of these rhinestones in this lid here, and by a little bit I mean all of them, because I'm going to actually be picking them up with my hand, and then I'm going to be using an old pin that is kind of dull to place the glue. Now, I definitely know that there are glue injector thingies and there's tools. I'm a little bit too frugal to purchase those things, so I just haven't, and this method just works fine for me. So I'm basically going to sit down at my gown and put a little glue on my pin. I'm going to put that glue on the dress. I do about 5 to 10 stones, and then I just place them right on top. Now, so my reasoning for using Gem Tack instead of something like E6000 is because I've had E6000 destroy or discolor several types of fabric before, but also because I'm working in a bedroom where I don't have windows open, so to actually be able to use E6000 without causing damage to myself, I'd have to be doing this with a respirator, and I just really don't think that it's necessary when there is a Gem Tack type glue out there. So I use Gem Tack. Also, just please read the bottle and the instructions on any type of adhesive you use. I know this isn't a video on adhesive, but I do want to take this moment to make sure that you guys are aware of the toxins that you can potentially be putting in your body by using certain glues. The fourth and final method in which I apply rhinestones to Sally is with my RNK hot fix tool on my embroidered patches that go on Sally's dress. A hot fix tool is one of the best tools that a maker can have in their studio. Now, what I did is I actually placed my rhinestones on this patch before I turned my tool on, just because I didn't know what it was going to look like. And now I'm using the tool and 4 seconds, I think, on each rhinestone, and then I just lift it up. I really love this, and I would have honestly used this on the skirt had it not already been in the shape it was. So if something is flat, this tool is an absolute, it's so great. But because my skirts were so full, I chose to use gem tack because I wasn't sure where they were going to go. Once the gems actually take and cool, they will stick on there really well, and then you have a nice little bejeweled little patch. And there you have it, all of the ways that I used rhinestones on my Sally ball gown. There is so many ways to embellish costumes, and you can do it in a very timely fashion like I did here with Sally. So feel free to go check out Rhinestone Genie. You get 10% off with this coupon using KC. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment below. Don't forget that the question of the week is, who is your favorite Disney villain? And I will see you guys in the next video on Sunday. So happy sewing!